Alright, Rich Van Tassel back with you, continuing on with the game picks for Week 9 of the NFL season. And of course, recording audio for WBJL Radio and Yes You. Our next game up, the Jacksonville Jaguars at 2-5. They are 1-2 on the road. Travel to Kansas City to play the Chiefs, who are 5-2, 3-0 at home. Injuries for the visiting Jacksonville Jaguars. Jared Odrick, defensive lineman, is out. Aaron Colvin, cornerback, questionable. For the Kansas City Chiefs, Alex Smith, quarterback, out with the concussion. DJ White, cornerback, out. Jamal Charles, running back, is on injury reserve, as well as Parker Ehringer, offensive lineman, so they're out. Jeremy Maclin, the wide receiver, is questionable. Nick Foles will be getting the start in place of Alex Smith, certainly familiar with Andy Reid's system, and a quarterback who fits nicely in that quick passing game offense, limited runs but short passes in lieu of the runs in that regard. So I don't expect much of a drop-off in that regard for the Kansas City Chiefs. Spencer Ware has been able to carry the load nicely, just at 5 yards, almost exactly at 5 yards per carry. Only 2 touchdowns thus far this season, but over 500 yards. For Jacksonville, we've discussed this many times. The running game just can't get going. TJ Yeldon, 63 carries, 220 yards. That's under 4 yards per carry and only 1 touchdown. And you would expect that with the running struggles, they'd be passing the ball better. Now, Allen Hurns is having a good season. 31 receptions, 433 yards, 2 touchdowns, but certainly nothing that blows you away. Blake Bortles does have a lot of yardage for only playing 7 games, just under 2,000, 12 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. If Jacksonville was able to have run the ball and done it on a consistent basis by now, they would have. It's been killing them this season, and this team has been very much disappointing. Granted, I did not have them in the playoffs, but I expected a little bit more from them, and they're just not getting the job done thus far this season, and I don't see any reason why Kansas City doesn't have a particularly easy time with the Jacksonville Jaguars. I've gone with Jacksonville way too many times. I'm not going to do it again. I'm picking the Chiefs in this one pretty easily. I like 28-14 over the Jacksonville Jaguars. Next up, the Detroit Lions, 4-4, 1-3 on the road, travel to Minnesota to play the 5-2 Vikings, who are 3-0 at home. The Vikings have lost 2 straight games. Injuries for the visiting Lions, all questionables. Ezekiel Ansah, defensive end. Darius Burns, cornerback. Taylor Decker, offensive tackle. Haloti Ngata, defensive tackle. Darius Slay, cornerback. So almost all of those injuries are on defense. For the Minnesota Vikings, 3 outs. Alex Boone, guard. Zach Karen, center. Sharif Floyd, defensive tackle. Jerick McKinnon, the running back. Andrew Sandejo, the safety, are questionable in this one. So, NFC North game in this one. 2 teams jockeying for position. Detroit certainly right in the race, even though they are only 500. No team running away with that division. You look at it, Minnesota is only 1-1 in the division. Detroit does not have a division win yet. They are 0-2. So certainly a lot more is riding on it for the Detroit Lions than the Minnesota Vikings, especially with that division record. Minnesota already has the better record overall at 5-2. Detroit is 4-4. So Detroit would really have to focus and get a road win in this one to keep pace. Matthew Stafford, 16 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, well over 2,000 yards. He's playing very well. Sam Bradford has been very efficient, replacing Teddy Bridgewater this year. Just under 1,500 yards. Well, not just under, but he's close to 1,500 yards, 8 touchdowns, 1 interception. Now, if Jerick McKinnon can't go, he's been carrying the load running the ball. Does not yet have 4 yards per carry, only just over 200 yards overall running the ball this season. He's an explosive guy. When I've seen Jerick McKinnon play, he certainly looks like a guy who can glide, who can break plays off, but they just haven't been able to establish him enough, and you got the injuries on the offensive line to both Boone and Karen. They're out. So I would look for Minnesota's running game to struggle in this one. Detroit is going to be going up against a good Minnesota defense. We'll see how Matt Stafford fares. He's limited his turnovers. Certainly this would be a game where I'd be looking for that turnover bug to creep up and bite him again. Let's see what he will be able to do in this game. On the road, though, I can't see Detroit coming away with the victory. I see them scoring some points. Minnesota will have to keep up. I think they'll be able to do it. They may get turnovers that help them out to score some points, and I like it 28-24 in favor of the Minnesota Vikings in this one, breaking their 2-game losing streak. Our next game, The Carolina Panthers at 2-5. They have not won a road game. They're 0-3 on the road, traveling cross country to Los Angeles to play the Rams, who are 3-4, 1-2 at home. The Rams have lost 3 straight games. Carolina breaking their losing streak with a win last week. Injuries for the Carolina Panthers: 3 outs. Vernon Butler, defensive tackle. Shaq Thompson, linebacker. Michael Orr, offensive tackle. Ryan Khalil, center. Daryl Worley, cornerback, questionable. For the Rams, 4 questionables: Jamon Brown, guard. Tremaine Jackson, cornerback. Michael Brockers, defensive tackle. William Haynes, defensive end. Nelson Spruce, the wide receiver, is out. Really, last chance, I would say, for both of these teams. Certainly Carolina has a much harder division climb in this one if they were to lose. Even if they win, Los Angeles, the division is still certainly obtainable, but after losing 3 straight, you would have to wonder if they were to lose their 4th straight, especially to a team like Carolina, who, while was in the Super Bowl last year, is not playing well this year. If that would really break their stride in every piece of good, equity, for lack of a better term, they built up with the 3-1 start, and they'd really start to slide. Will Todd Gurley finally be established in this game for the fact that he's been basically terrible by Todd Gurley standards throughout the season? Well under 4 yards per carry, barely at 3.5, only 3 touchdowns. Now, granted, Carolina is not running the ball much better. Jonathan Stewart, he's under 4 yards per carry, just over 250 yards, does have 4 touchdowns. Cam Newton has picked up a lot of the running. Just 2 teams. Carolina, very under-impressive this year. Los Angeles can't find their consistency. Case Keenum, 8 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. They're coming off the bye week, of course. We saw he was terrible against the Giants in that London game. Tough game to pick. 2 teams that you just have a lot of question marks. The secondary of Carolina has been bad without Josh Norman. Will they be able to get turnovers against Case Keenum? I expect they do. Carolina, for now, keeps their season on life support, going cross-country to get the victory over the Los Angeles Rams. I like it 31-20. I don't think the Rams are going to be that competitive in this one, to be honest with you. The New Orleans Saints at 3-4, 1-2 on the road, travel to San Francisco, who was 1-6. They've lost 6 straight games since their opening win, and they're 1-3 at home. San Francisco is coming off a bye week. The injuries for the visiting New Orleans Saints: 3 outs. Daniel Ellerbe, linebacker. Daniel Lasco, running back. James Laurinaitis, linebacker. Delvin Breaux, the cornerback, and Terran Armstead, the offensive tackle, are questionable. For the 49ers, Rashard Robinson, cornerback. Aaron Lynch, linebacker, and Carlos Hyde, running back, are the injuries listed. Rashard Robinson and Aaron Lynch are out. Carlos Hyde, the running back, is questionable. It appears that Colin Kaepernick will remain the starter. You don't have many options there at quarterback if you were San Francisco. What has happened to Colin Kaepernick, I don't know, and I'm not talking about the national anthem situation. That is what it is. That's a completely separate issue. This is a guy who took a team to a Super Bowl not long ago, and now he seems lost. I don't know if injuries have caught up with him. I don't know if teams have figured out his running ability. I really don't know what it is with Colin Kaepernick, but this was supposed to be like the next guy, and it just hasn't happened. Chip Kelly, will they establish their running game consistently, or just their offense in general? Like we've said many times, when they should be running, they're passing. When they should be passing, they're running. They run too much when they should be passing the ball. The discrepancy between the two every week, it just seems to not make any sense, and that should be expected with Chip Kelly. You look at this guy, 1-6 now, and I believe he finished last year at 1-3 before he finally resigned. He's like 2-9 in his last 11. Altogether, he was 6-9 last year. He finished the year before, I believe it was 1-4. So that's 10-13 with 1-6, 11-19. This guy really shouldn't be coaching in the NFL. With that being said, I don't think San Francisco is losing 7 straight. New Orleans has shown me more than I would have expected from them this year, and obviously that means I wasn't expecting much because they're only 3-4. That's why I think San Francisco will find a way to win this game. Drew Brees, while his numbers are very impressive, I just think he's going to have a bad day in this one, and maybe I'm throwing the San Francisco 49ers a bit of a bone here. I expect them to get the win, breaking their 6-game losing streak. New Orleans are not world beaters. I like this game 24-17 in favor of the San Francisco 49ers. Tennessee Titans at 4-4 travel to San Diego to play the Chargers at 3-5. Neither one of these teams have had their bye week yet. Of course, Tennessee staying on pace in that AFC South, but then again, it's not difficult to do because no team is great. Injuries for the Tennessee Titans, the three questionables: Aaron Wallace, linebacker; Rashad Jones, safety; Delaney Walker, tight end. Quinton Spain, the guard, is out. The other three were questionables. San Diego's injuries: Terrell Williams, wide receiver; Travis Benjamin, wide receiver, questionable; Jatavis Brown, linebacker, out; Craig Major, cornerback, is also out; and Denzel Perryman, the linebacker, is out as well. Phillip Rivers putting up big yardage, not a surprise there. We expect he's going to look to throw the ball, and Tennessee's defense with Dick LeBeau have been blitzing a lot to help their cornerbacks, and that's usually not the case. You say, well, you don't usually blitz with weak cornerbacks. But Dick LeBeau loves to blitz. 1, 2, he feels that the only way to help his cornerbacks is to get pressure on the quarterback, that is. And it could spell disaster against this San Diego team who loves to pass the ball. Mariota quietly putting together a good season. DeMarco Murray is very impressive this year. He's over 4.5 yards per carry. He's just getting the job done with 6 touchdowns, coming back very nicely since that poor year last year in Philadelphia. Melvin Gordon quietly putting together a good season as well. He's over 4 yards per carry, over 500 yards, and 8 touchdowns. So he is coming along since being a high draft pick last season. Tennessee, can they go on the road against a weaker team, get themselves above 500, and really give themselves not a shot because they already have a shot in that division, but certainly a boost, a confidence of, hey, we can do this within the final 7 games, which will be after this one. To get the win here would be put them over 500, as we said. It's going to be difficult. We know Phillip Rivers likes to throw. That secondary is not very good of Tennessee. So I'm expecting a high-scoring game. I think Tennessee will be able to run the ball on San Diego, and they show something in this game and get a win. I like 34-31 over the San Diego Chargers for the Tennessee Titans. Alright, so we will be back in just a little bit, continuing on with Week 9's game picks. Stay tuned for that.